Nothing in you is broken. What is exhausted is the way you learn to define yourself. If you stay here, you don't need to prove anything. Perhaps you have spent years trying to understand who you are. But the fatigue you feel does not come from a lack of answers. It comes from the constant effort of sustaining an identity. As you listen to these words, you don't need to arrive anywhere. You only need to remain. Neuroscience shows that identity is not something fixed. It is an activity of the brain. Much of what you call me is produced by a specific neural network known as the default mode network. It becomes active when you are not focused on the external world. When you think about yourself, when you revisit the past or anticipate the future, this is where the internal narrative is formed. Who I am. What is expected of me. What I need to be in order to belong. The problem is not that this network exists. The problem is when it never rests. When identity becomes rigid, the brain enters a state of continuous effort. And the body experiences this as anxiety, tension, or emptiness. Perhaps you are not lost. Perhaps your nervous system is simply tired of repeating the same story. From a psychoanalytic perspective, identity emerges as a form of defense. It forms very early in life. As the brain learns what ensures acceptance and what threatens connection, what secures attachment is reinforced. What risks rejection is suppressed. Gradually, identity organizes itself as a map for emotional survival. It does not ask who you are. It asks what keeps you safe, but the brain does not know when danger has passed. It continues to protect, even when protection is no longer required. This is why so many adults react from old patterns in situations that no longer demand defense. Here, neuroscience begins to touch something profound. Despite all these constructions, the brain does not function randomly. It seeks coherence, integration, and order, even in confusion. There is a quiet intelligence attempting to reorganize the system, just as every cell in the body carries a code that precedes our will. DNA, there is within us an original pattern of being. This pattern is not learned. It is not imposed. It simply is. Identity tries to imitate it, but it can never replace it. When we live far from this pattern, the body suffers. The mind enters conflict, and life loses its sense of flow. Some call this essence. Others call it consciousness. Others simply sense it, without naming it. Science observes only the effects. When a person aligns with this inner pattern, the nervous system regulates. Neural networks move into coherence. And behavior changes with less effort, not because the person forced themselves to improve, but because they stopped resisting what was already inscribed. Perhaps what many traditions once called a spark is not something distant or abstract, but a living organizing principle, something that does not need to be created, only recognized. Just as DNA does not need to be invented to function, this inner pattern does not need explanation to operate. It reveals itself as a sense of truth, of alignment, of inner quiet. When identity stops competing with this foundation, the brain relaxes. Breathing changes, and something within us reorganizes. Silently, perhaps your true identity is not found in the story you tell about yourself, but in the state of awareness that observes that story. You are not a mistake trying to correct itself. You are an expression of something greater than you imagine. When this is recognized, even without words, identity ceases to be a prison and becomes simply a tool. And for the first time in a long while, something in you can simply rest.